It's a great honor to have this opportunity to speak with you today about Japanese craft. Though often said to be fading away under the pressure of changing times, Japanese craft hold hidden treasures and invaluable secret within. I hope to explore these with you and discuss how we can pass on them for future generations. First, let me introduce myself. I am a gallerist. When I was 12, my mother established an art gallery, and when I was 14, I started to help her, and which brought me into contact with remarkable artists like Toko Shinoda and many people who actively shape our society. As I continued in this field, I came to a realization the craftsmanship that supports the art world from behind the scenes is steadily vanishing. Materials like a paper have degraded in quality, and techniques that preserve beauty over time are being lost. Painting displayed in a client's home discolored in less than 10 years, and cheap wooden panel having trouble in a client's home. Maybe someone knows, yes. And one day, my beloved Miss Shinoda said to me, I hope that craftsmen will continue creating high quality paper, brushes, and ink. But if that only means imposing hardship on them, it would be deeply saddening. We must find ways to bring joy and fulfillment to their lives. Those words struck me deeply and made me feel a sense of responsibility. I thought this is a mission entrusted to me. So in 2013, with the mission in my mind, I co-founded the Creation of Japan, which we call COJ, alongside Mr. Hideki Hayashida, the former Commissioner for Cultural Affairs. We set out to create the bridge that connects the beauty of Japanese crafts and craftsmanship to the future, 100 years from now. We should ensure that we do not lose the wisdom that countless people have tried, fostered, and passed on over thousands of years so that they can continue to create great products. How can this be achieved? There are many people in society who want to contribute to culture. However, if we are willing to seriously address their desires, I think it is not right to help only one genre or one category. There are many styles of Japanese crafts which have a wide range of related area, more than you imagined. And there are many organizations for promotion. Japanese craft bars has numerous boundaries, often isolated from each other. Although some of them may claim that their crafts have a precious tradition and should be protected, but in the highly competitive environment of modern industry, it can sound like they are just feeling lazy. I think we need to see carefully, and also just what is essential is collaboration bringing together those with good ideas and actions, connecting them, and strategizing collectively. The Noto Peninsula earthquake that occurred on January 1st this year must have been deeply affecting you all. This is a photo of wood fires kilns of people who make pottery in Suzuyaki, which were damaged for the third years in a row. And Wajima Lakawe was also severely damaged. The people of Noto are naturally cheerful and have a very strong will to get back on their feet. But the heavy rain disaster in September made the situation even more serious. In this situation, already famous artists and inexpensive Wajima lacquerware will survive. I mean, not expensive one. But the nameless technicians who support the intermediate processes with amazing skills equivalent to those of Olympic athletes will lose their jobs and workplaces. Some of them may even give up continuing and become taxi drivers. The value of the land that has just barely protected will be greatly lost in the advanced craftsmanship too. And so after the Noto Peninsula earthquake this January, we received many inquiries. I want to provide cultural support in the affected area, but where and how can we donate? What actions are being taken to help? To address this, we've been developing initiatives using Watoji, a free app that aggregated and shares related information, this kind of things, yes. And also at Japan Craft Week event, we facilitated discussions about building alliance to prepare for future natural disasters. These gatherings have sparked new projects with a national perspective, demonstrating the power of connection. And this was the first time that people actually shared information with each other about their activities. Um, the Noto region is blessed with environment that produces exceptional timber, and traces of this heritage can still be seen in the traditional houses that were severely damaged this time. Rather than discarding the wood, they plan to work in collaboration with relevant parties to preserve the local landscape. And other collaborative work will include projects to support the fired kiln in Suzu. Yesterday, maybe you watched the TV about the Mr. Steve Weimer did, and also there is many project is going on, and to protect the advanced technique of Vajimala Kawaya. There is many project is going on. In this way, we are connecting people who are taking good action and having strategy meetings for the whole country and creating a path for the craft sector that everyone can follow for the next 100 years. Jose, what you did at the Koge Picnics Connect Craft with Contemporary Lifestyle and the Japanese to English translation guidelines for craft aims to bridge the language gap between Japan and the world. Enjoying the story of these crafts is shared globally. And we are also working to pass on traditional materials and techniques so that craft can continue to be made in the future. In this case, collaboration with other fields such as science and business are necessary. COJ provide a bridge for producers of traditional materials to address social issues, working with the architecture, cosmetics, and fashion sectors. Our activities extend beyond the craft. And the collaboration with other sectors also applies on the First Patronage Program, which will be held next month. This is a project organized by the Kawamura Art and Cultural Foundation, founded by Yoshihisa Kawamura, an integral COG collaborator and a member of the Asia Society. In the craft world, artisans and artists must undergo an incredibly long period of training, even once they are ready to earn a living. The first steps for unknown artisans and craftsmen are particularly difficult. And intermediary support organization COJ collaborate with star creators, craft education institutions, and local governments that are dedicated to fostering the next generation. We ask them to recommend artisans and artists they have carefully fostered, and these recommendations are then reviewed by a panel of gorgeous judges. Through this process, 20 selected young craft masters, artisans, and artists are introduced at the 1.5 day event held deliberately in a location frequented by office workers who may not usually have an interest in craft. Some may think this would make a good Christmas gift and decide to make a purchase. They will receive a special sick first patron card from the Kamra Art and Culture Foundation. Um, this one. Um, Featuring heartfelt messages from the artists. Even those who would typically discard instruction cards might notice the card and choose to keep it. Over time, as the artist gains recognition, the supporting purchasing might feel the supporting purchasers might feel delighted and start to appreciate crafts more, becoming a supporter of this field. As the initiative continued over time, we've seen an increasing number of fans who looked forward to the event. Producers of the art festival and gallery owners have also begun attending and purchasing works. Yeah, please come. The museum director too, please. Yeah, and also some artists achieve immediate success with their work selling out on the spot or creating enough buzz to launch their careers, as we call it rocket start. One of their works was featured on the cover of Jingaho magazine. Now, doesn't it make you curious about which artists will be featured this year? So we've invited two of the exhibiting artists to join us today. Um, uh, he there, metal casting artist, the Akane Sodani, and glass artist Sakurako Ida. Um,
Hello everyone, my name is Akane Sodani. I'm a metal casting artist. Metal casting is the technique to create a piece by melting metal, pouring them into a mold. My philosophy is to explore new expressions of casting in jewelry context. Casting has been used for centuries, even in monumental works like the Great Buddha statues. In my own process, I start by shaping molds by hand with water and clay. Then I melt metal over an open flame and pour into the mold. During this process, I add glass, which causes bubbles and cracks due to the difference in shrinking rate. These effects create decoration from within the casting itself. It's a very primitive method. In those moments when I confront the power of nature, I feel paradox of creating something tangible from such an intangible process. Let me introduce a few of my works. The first one is called Landscape. This one. This piece was inspired by my experience during the COVID-19 pandemic when I couldn't turn to my hometown. The series is about the distant landscapes of my hometown and the relationships with others that became unreachable. Through the difficulty of wearing it, the piece represents the feeling of loss, where things we once took for granted suddenly feel far away. Another piece is titled Invisible Purposes Verb Response to Relations. This piece focuses on fragrance, which has historically symbolized power and wealth much like jewelry. In modern times, while we are freed from these symbols, we still struggle with accepting others and ourselves, often seeking something excessive. The work aims to encourage reflection on the invisible aspects of our relationships and emotions. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope through my works you can enjoy the unique beauty of the metal casting technique and its possibility. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sakurako Ida. I'm a glass artist. Using molten glass and glass blowing techniques, I make artwork and food dishes. Today, I would like to introduce some of them to you. To start with my artist statement, I have been exploring the phenomenal appearance of colored glass as it reacts under various conditions. The laws of nature in artificial materials are mysterious and fascinating. This is one of the fluid series, which I have been exploring the patterns that have come about when flames and colored glass react. The fluidity of molten glass is also an essential element in the patterns. I am attracted by the patterns and phenomena that nature leaves behind over years or decades, such as minerals, tree rings, and layers of earth. To me, the pattern in this series reflect the condensed process of nature's history. I brought some of them here, so please take a look later. And these are also from the Fluid series. I want to explore the contrast of nature and humanity by using natural patterns on created design. These are vessels for sake from the Sumi series, inspired by the spatial presentation created by black and white colors in Japanese traditional art, calligraphy. I feel a sense of modest beauty in Japanese traditional art and craft. By creating not only artwork, but also craftwork, I continue to learn about the culture and hope that my work will embody its beauty. This is quite short, but that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for presentation and you too. Thank you. And the next month we will have the First Patronage Program at the Kite 20th. ありがとうございます. This invitation is maybe you have it, so please enjoy. And also, let's make them rocket start. Okay, finally, at last, the COZ is a device to create something like three unbreakable threads that has joins together with everyone. And although it is not an organization that can do everything it needs to do because of its accumulated deficit, it will create a place to discuss how to create a future that cannot be created individually. We are often joined by Mr. Sage Kondo and also Mr. Tomoharu Inoue and also Mr. Bimilan Steve of Japan Craft 21. We are also working with related Japanese ministries and local governments so that we can have honest discussions with them. If you have a concrete idea of what kind of future you want to create, or if you have an awareness of the challenges you face, we would love to hear from you. Let's have a strategy meeting together. Thank you very much for your attention.
My question is what other organizations, aside from your own, are engaged in preserving traditional crafts? What role is the Japanese government playing in this regard? Considering the growing international recognition of Japanese cuisine and sake, the increasing number of Japanese restaurants abroad, and the surge in inbound tourism following the pandemic, it seems that there could be significant opportunities for Japan's traditional crafts as well. So what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And in fact, there are too many of them. There are many organizations scattered throughout Japan. I estimated that there are more than 100 organizations dedicated to the preservation of traditional Japanese craft. Among the preservation organization that craft person belongs to, there is such as Nihon Kogekai, that's supported by the Agency for Cultural Affairs, and also the NITEM, which has a longer history in the Association for the Promotion of Traditional Craft Industries, which is supported by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. There are also private organizations for promotion and enhance, such as Takumi Aldo Japan, which is an organization that Mr. Seiichi Kondo leads, and Japan Craft 21, which you all know. There's many, and such as Urushi, the specific genre, they have the same as that. So there are many groups for support. Some are working to solve issues related to preserve the tools and materials, as some specialize in next generation education, and some aim to revitalize the industry with the power to sell. Still, no dynamic moves have been made in the past decade. So COJ is working as the only organization that calls for solidarity. So there is no competitor, I think. The Japan has historically done a good job to preserving Japanese craft to the present day for various reasons, but in the modern era, especially since the period of rapid economic growth, the protection policy seems to have become a formality in the past few years, the value of crafts has been revalued, re-evaluated from the perspective of tourism, and this has begun to create a positive trend. All ministries are doing what they can, but copying therapy will not pass the baton to the next generation. I believe that drastic action needs to be conclusively centered on the private sector and involve the government. And now is the most important time in recent decades. As you say, Japanese crafts has become one of the purposes of inbound travel to Japan. And it is beginning to be appreciated around the world as well. I hope to create a big action plan while taking advantage of this opportunity. That the fact that Japanese food has grown into such an attractive content the last decades. So this is it can be a role model for the craft, I think.
So, I thought it was very important to kind of set up the marketplace, for these artisans. So example can be like Etsy. It's a global artisan marketplace program, and I was, kind of trying to introduce her to my senpai at Stanford Business School, who was actually a representative of Etsy Japan, till very recently. And the other thing was like the importance of academia, in revitalizing, creating a knowledge around craftsmanship, and also like in the market, the businesses, surrounding the craftsmanship in Japan. And JICE, I don't know what it stands for, right? But it's a science institution based in Ishikawa, has the knowledge creating like a department. So they can actually invite all the people from cross sector actually to revitalize and recreate the knowledge surrounding the industry. So could be a interesting driver for the revitalization of craftsmanship after the disaster in Noto. And the last thing was kind of taking advantage of the MBA students between MBA first year and second year, using their summer vacation, basically kind of inviting them to Hokuriku or Tokyo to kind of think about the strategy or kind of conceptualization of business plan for Iwaseki-san's project could be interesting. And Stanford Business School has the program called GMX, which is kind of the school pays for those programs, and then send out the students to support those programs. I was part of the Hurricane Katrina's relief effort in New Orleans, and it was great opportunity for me to learn about U.S. in reality 18 years ago. So could be a very interesting project to work together.
Thank you. I think. What do you think? This is the exciting ideas. So I absolutely I agree to think about it and with you, and also just this is the exciting point of the COZ's the how can I say what we do. So let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely brilliant, and it's very important what you're doing. It's had your organization is having waves all over, and it's incredibly important on very many different levels. And I really celebrate, and I want to congratulate you on bringing fantastic young craft artists today, but also to nurture them for the future. I know when I was at the British Museum and doing the three-dimensional objects at the British Museum, putting out contemporary crafts, particularly we went for high level, but we also did younger people's crafts as well. It had an incredible impact, and everyone wanted to purchase them. So, if we have craft artists, we put them out on the galleries, people say, where can we get them? That was the problem, is the distribution of it. And even on simple things, I asked the British Museum shop to host some of these craft artists. The dynamics of getting it from Japan there, particularly from these small craft producers, was complicated. Now, there are dealers that do a brilliant job of bringing it out, but then the price tag goes up, and then oftentimes the smaller kilns or the smaller groups are left out. So I think the dynamics are still in, there is the desire, there is the market abroad. The question is, it's almost like a puzzle. How do you actually access that and not restrict it to certain names that you always hear, and those names are always coming abroad. I really celebrate what Japan House is doing. Particularly, I'm involved in the London one, but the certainly LA, there, and in Sao Paulo, Japan House is doing a brilliant job of just always introducing regional crafts, and then that has a market. But I think the key is to actually get it out, and I think it's to the people who want them. And Etsy is great, but it's actually, when I've done this, it's in the shipping. It's the shipping that is complicated, and oftentimes, if you don't do FedEx art shipping, they unpack it in the customs areas and they break the objects. And that's happened many, many times in getting things to Britain. So you have to ship it in a certain way, then that adds the expense, and then you have all these different layers. And I just wonder if there's some way of doing this. We had this really lovely program that sorry, I'm going on a bit, but the Asia Society just did, and we went to northern Kyushu, and we were looking at ceramics, but relationships between Korea, China, and contemporary ceramics. And it was really wonderful going to different producers and different kilns. And we went to Kakemon Sensei's kiln. He really is exquisite. And he was explaining that the markets, they have 40 to 50 people in their workshop. So they have to feed 40 to 50 families. And so they have to sell a certain amount to keep that going. And that used to be relatively easy because you would get sets that be ordered from Japanese companies and particularly through department stores. And they still do it through department stores and through JAL, and he's doing an initiative through JAL, but it's not enough. It's not enough. The market is dwindling as the society is aging and the numbers are going down, and as the department stores are, their strength is weakening. So what is the future? How do you go forward? And my instinct, I don't know, this is just from my experience, is that it's really important to kind of create images, as you are doing, but create images on kind of a higher level, or introduce people to the actual objects and the makers, and then have the system to supply the the nascent demand that you're starting to build. So for example, what I mean is working with museums and cultural centers. I'm particularly thinking of Europe, but in America it could work just as well, or throughout the world. And you work specifically bringing, it always helps to bring the artist out, to have the face-to-face. You could do it in Zoom, but it's not the same. And people have that personal experience and they see that. And then you start to create this demand. And then if some person buys this, then their neighbors want that. And then and then it builds up on that. But where it always fails, and people do that, with basket where in America it's fabulous, but the failure is in the actual supply of the goods getting from Japan to America, and that is and this is going to become more so. Kakemon Sensei was saying this. He can't get the brushes, the really high quality brushes. So it's not just the objects; it's actually the tools that they need to create those objects. He said that he bought out the last 100 brushes from the last brush maker that he likes in Hyogo, and but there'll be other brush makers, but there's a danger there. So it's just important to keep that supply up. Thank you. Sorry, that was a bit long, but thank you.
We need to build the new system to send the craft to the Europe. I think we need the base in London. I think it will be warehouse and also just that is hub to the gallerist, to the museum, the director. Maybe it's a simple answer for the industry business, but just the art things and craft things, it's I don't know why they going to sell just alone. I mean, just it's like bamboo spear, like it's very, how can I say, a drop in the bucket. So I think we need more yeah, find a way to send the how can I say, good amount to Europe, super team of the Japanese craft, and maybe we can collaborate about to introduce in Europe. So of course we had the symposium at the Japan House, London too, and Daiwa-san. And in London, there is many supporters. So just maybe we need to do, I guess, collaborate, I think. And also about brush things, that is very important problem. But maybe we need to collect the information who wants to have it. Now now we started to collaborate with the 伝統的工芸品産業振興協会. They collected the information from many kumiai. So now we can start from the dynamic action for that. So please help me. Thank you for the question.
So I was discussing about more about the future of Japanese craftsmanship, and probably in craftsmanship in Japan, there's different categories, and probably koge is also probably, it's not the same definition of craft, and koge probably a bit different. But I think that today there are a lot of initiatives around the Japanese koge, and especially around how the borderline between artisan and artist is kind of vague. I think that Dento Koge now are trying just to find, I would say, new opportunities around the art industry. But my concern is that I'm not sure that there's only one way just to promote and to sustain this Japanese savoir-faire, because of course, there's a huge chance to increase the value of these, specific and very highly creative Japanese koge and the crafts through art. But it will mean that you also probably appreciate, the value of the individual artist, and it doesn't immediately connect to I would say, inspiring future generation of artisans to learn about one specific métier, etc. So I think that there should be also other solutions to value and to make, I would say, attractive the entire Japanese craft and traditional manufacturing processes as well, because there's a lot of opportunities around the global market. And my second point was that for Dento Koge, so very individual and highly creative, very highly artistic value art pieces, probably I would say, it's more easy just to access global market through art scene. But when we go to a bit more, I would say, reproducible craft, that you can make like series. It's more difficult just to find, or to bridge them to, especially as you mentioned about European market and other markets, because they don't meet global standards. And it's really also a challenge for Japan, probably that it should be also involving more like institutional and academic, say, a point of view, just to find the right way just to make these Japanese, I would say, manufacturing and craft and artisanship meeting the global standards without, destroying the authenticity and the processes and the uniquity of them. So I think there is a huge opportunity because there's still very low visibility of all these Japanese craft toward the world, but with a lot of challenges as well.
Firstly, the contemporary art and art world could give the craft worlds the options to active the other field. I mean, just the traditional craft loses the lost their place to live, but just the art context gave them the more option to act, but just only that cannot protect the most important things in Japanese craft. I think just this is only personal and private view of the something important core of Japanese craft is okay. Can you tell the difference between wadansu, Japanese chest, and the other, European pants chest, and also kimono, wafuku, and yofuku. The clothing, Western clothing, and also the 古民家の和建築なんていうんですかね、old houses, old the technique of the architect, and Western one. There is the same difference is there. So, is there someone can tell that the 洋服と和服の違いが言える方いらっしゃいますか? There is hidden philosophy. The kimono was cut the straight line, and also it is easy to replace if you make a hole or make daddy. Just 一部分だけ変えればいいんです。タンスもそうです。This is very, how can I say, 素材をとても大事にする発想。なんて言えばいいですかね。ちょっと待ってください。はい。
So, if you are not comfortable with English, please speak in Japanese or
ありが
use
とうございます。
Japanese sometimes.
Thank you. とてもものづくりの段階から、いつかこれが壊れることを想定して作っているというところと、あとそれから災害を想定していますね。いつかそういうことが起きるだろうと。で、その時に耐えるために切り箱もできましたし、あと加賀象嵌なんかの象嵌もですね、本当にハードな馬の鞍に使えるようなものを作ってましたし、そういう技術って愛しくないですかねっていうのはちょっとあります。なんていうか、お直しが前提でしたね。オケとかもね。だから街にやっぱり直せる職人さんがいてっていうのは多分ですね、使う側が金継ぎなんかは最近海外でとても有名になりました。やっぱり多分本当はお直し私たちもっとした方がいいんじゃないですかねっていうのが私ちょっと実は大事に思っています。で素材を大事にする代替する部分が本当にコンパクトに済むように設計されてますので、そういうのを今現代作家さんも取り入れてくれたらいいななんて私も思っています。
To translate, there's beauty in the Japanese crafts where these crafts are made anticipating that they need to be fixed at some point, or anticipating a natural disaster like earthquakes, because Japan has these many things. So, which is pointed out is that these crafts anticipate these things. So there's always a skill set of fixing these crafts, and there's artisans or people skilled people who fixes these crafts, and that's kind of been part of the Japanese tradition and Japanese crafts. And there's a lot of beauty into that. For example, kintsugi. Not sure what this kintsugi, gold.
Mending gold.
Mending gold.
Urushi. With urushi and gold.
Yes, so fixing cracks with gold, the kintsugi. This is a technique that's been used in Japan for a very long time, and it's gained a little bit of attention lately in the Western world. But these kind of traditions are pretty unique to Japan, and the idea of valuing the materials, not just only the crafts. These are the traditions that we need to preserve, and the hope is that the young and upcoming artists, craftsmen, women, recognize this skill and try to utilize it and kind of reinvent it for the modern world.
Knowing the philosophy and also education transmit this culture for the older people. I mean, and also preserving the material maker, good material. They are almost extinct, actually. So just we need to keep them for the future. I need. So and also the this kind of things is not only action with artisan and artist. We need to do action with the how can I say user, normal people. I would like to make the movement for recognition.
Yes, we have a question from Sheila Asato. For many people in the West who work in the arts, cultural appropriation is a big issue these days. What impact, if any, do you think the issue of cultural appropriation is having on the Japanese craft traditions? What impact do you have on these Japanese traditions, and what role can people who are not native Japanese play in supporting these Japanese crafts?
まずですね、京都で、たくさんの観光客が来て、着物を着て歩くのって楽しいじゃないですか。で、レンタルを始められた方々が、出たので、京都を着物で歩く外国人の方が増えました。で、そしたら、じゃあ染色業界の人が喜んでいるかって言ったら、ものすごいけなすんですね。偽物のペラペラしたもん着やがってとか、着てやがって、本物体験させなきゃって言うんですけど、やっぱりエントリーモデルは必要だろうと思いますので、そういうのはまあ、そこから先に本物を知りたい人っていうのを設計していけばいいんじゃないかなとは思っています。別の視点では、日本文化のちょっと特性として、習いとか、何流とかですね、があるんですね。これ剣山風とかですね、そういうこう、レスペクトに基づいた写しという世界があるので、いや、どうなんでしょう。なんか、中国でドラえもんもどきを見るような気持ち悪さは皆さんお持ちだと思うんですが、特に日本の工芸の中に一つちょっとその海外にないそのレスペクトに基づいたコピーっていうのはもう本当に行われているのと、あと現在そうですね、たくさんのものが例えば今回 COJ を手伝ってくださっている鈴木啓太さんが作られた富士山グラスっていうのがあるんですが、もう瞬く間にみんなコピーしましたね。ちょっと昔のこれは習いとかそのレスペクトに基づくっていう習いではないので、なんか私ちょっとそこすいません、勉強不足です。なんて答えていいかわかんないです。ただ海外で逆にそのご一緒できたらなと思うのは、9月にジャパンクラフトウィークっていうのをやってまして、なんか同じ時期に日本のクラフトいいよねとか面白いよねとか使ってみたよみたいなのをちょっとつながれたりとかしたらいいなとか、やっぱ使ってみるとか触れてみるっていうことの機会が、とにかくさっきの着物の話じゃないですけど増えるのは絶対にいいことだと私は信じていまして、そういうのをこう海外でご一緒できたらいいなと思っています。
So the question about cultural appropriation. So lately in Kyoto, we see a lot of foreigners wearing kimonos and dressing up in Japanese styles, and it's fun for these people to do that. And but the reality is that the people who are working, who are these old traditional kimono makers, when they look at these kimonos, they don't feel too good about it because usually the material is not the best. The techniques that are used are not exactly traditional. So that is the unfortunate truth about how people in these traditions feel. But her perspective is that there needs to be a entry point. There needs to be more accessible ways for people, foreigners, to get in touch with Japanese culture. So these kimono rental places, in a way, is acting as an entry point, and that's very important. And what's important is that we need to create a way for these people who are interested in these crafts to kind of go deeper and find, to actually get in touch with these artisans, get in touch with these traditions. So while there's a pros and cons, but these entry points are definitely necessary, but we need to work further than that. And as a kind of unique aspect of Japanese culture is that there's a lot of different styles and traditions that are based on respectful imitation of traditions and crafts, and that's kind of the way that Japan has preserved these traditions. So respectful imitation, but lately there was a case where for the COJ, she was working with an artist called Suzuki Keita-san, and he created an art piece called Fuji Sungurasu, which was absolutely wonderful. But a lot of people copied what he did very quickly, and whether or not that was respectful is kind of up to debate. But to sum it up, it's very hard to answer the question of a cultural appropriation, and she's not exactly sure what the best way is to kind of continue forward. But one definite thing is that providing an opportunity for people to get in touch with the actual crafts, to see these in person, is definitely very important. And so we must come up with ways to bring these crafts and traditions overseas, make sure that people around the world can get in touch with them, so that if they need to and if they want to learn more about these crafts, we can provide them with these opportunities.
We are closing to the end of the session, and so I'd like to thank Tomoko again. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation today. I deeply admire your courage to